Thanks for that intro, Chrissy, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Pleasure to be back here and presenting at another RIU Explorers Conference. I think it will be a good year for gold, and thanks to Rob for all his talk. He did a good job. And it's going to be a great year for Black Cat, and as Chrissy said, and as the title of this slide is, we are currently refurbishing Paulsens, which does mean that we'll be back in production and producing gold later this year. I'm assuming everyone knows about Black Cat, but maybe there's people that haven't been to Explorers before. We have been around 6 years. We've been here most of those years as well. We've got 2.5 million ounces of high-grade gold resources spread across our 3 projects. And they're very high-grade, just like Rob before us. In fact, we've got 2 of the highest-grade underground resources in Australia, being Paulsens and Coyote. So for us, we've got installed infrastructure at both those sites. We've got permitted sites to build mills at Kalgoorlie as well. So we've got 3 projects, all very near production, and we're looking forward to getting them going. We've got funding coming in, and I'll talk to that in this pack as well. And that allows us to get Paulsens up and running and producing gold this year. And we'll use that internal cash flow to sequentially develop the other 2 projects and eventually be producing at around 150,000 ounces per annum. So all our projects are regionally very strategic. They're the only processing facilities for gold in those areas, and we'll leverage off that into the future. So here's the 3 pillars of the company: Paulsens, Coyote, Cal East. All have good endowments of gold, large tenement holdings, great discovery potential. We've released studies on all of these. We've got initial production targets set for each one, and they're all producing sort of 200,000 to 300,000 ounces of gold over a 4 to 5 year mine life. Obviously, these mines have operated for typically longer than they've got current mine life, and that's the nature of these high-grade gold mines in Western Australia. Right now, we're refurbishing Paulsens. We intend to upgrade and refurbish Coyote, and we intend to build Cal East from the ground up. And therefore we need less capital for Paulsens and more capital for Cal East, and that's why these are sequenced 1, 2, 3 from lowest capital to highest for us. All produce good cash flow and all have good all-in sustaining costs. From a corporate point of view, 306 million shares on market, some options, some performance rights there for employees predominantly, about 60 to 70 million market cap at this point. 8 million in the bank at the end of December, some more came in January. Northern Star still owed 10 million, but over the next couple of years, so nothing urgent there. Top 20 holders have about 41% of the stock, and directors hold about 10%. Those directors are Paul Chapman, Les Davis, founding directors of Silver Lake Resources. We've got Tony Polglaze from Avanco fame, myself, so there's 3 guys with lots of experience in grey hair, and myself on the board. But all of us have experience starting gold mines, as does the rest of the management team. In terms of funding, we've got $60 million coming into us this year. 9 million of that is already in the bank account, and we're using that right now, ordering long lead items and doing early works in the mill. We've got equity placements of 36 million to 2 Chinese groups. They'll get 16% of the stock each. We're waiting for FIRB and Chinese regulatory approval for that, and we expect that to come in over the next few months. We also have 15 million in debt coming from one of those groups, with good payments, low interest, very friendly for us in terms of our startup. So what are we doing with that money? Well, we're restarting Paulsens. Paulsens is, of course, the operation that kick-started Northern Star, took them from an explorer to a producer, gave them lots of cash flow. For us, we think it'll do exactly the same thing. We've got a fantastic tenement package here, very much underexplored. We've got a well-maintained 450,000 tonne plant. It does need refurbishment, and we've got the capital coming for that. Dewatered, ventilated underground mine, it is important. We have been underground drilling less than a year, but we've grown the resource from about 80,000 ounces when we took ownership to over 400,000 ounces at the last published resource. It is the only plant within 400 kilometres, gold processing plant. there are other interesting gold deposits in the area, and we'll leverage off that in the future. Paulsens has produced 1 million ounces in the top 1,000 metres from surface. We've got another 400,000 ounces up in around that top area, as well as the start of the extension of Paulsens. On top of that, we've got Footwall Gabbro Zone, which is loaded with gold. We've got that part of that in our mine plan now, and there's going to be a lot more mining in that area. The eastern zone, very much under-drilled, and the Paulsens repeat is an untested target. A geophysical target defined after the mine closed, when Northern Star spent $2 million on that. There's a lot of scope for additional ounces to come out of this. We've got a 4-year plan here already, and this mine will continue to grow into the future. Here's the metrics of the study. I won't go through it all in detail, but I will point out that we did publish a study in July. Then we did a few more months drilling, and we published another study in November. And we added an extra year and basically improved every metric by sort of 30 to 40% with only a few months drilling. And that's the nature of these ore bodies, and this particular ore body, especially if you drill it, you'll keep growing the mine life. And that's what you saw in the history of this operation. It only ever had a very short mine life, but it operated for 13 years. We'll keep doing this. And there's gold everywhere here. So we've got plenty of gold in our current mine plan, which is based on our current resource. And then there's a whole heap of gold that's not included in a resource. We haven't been able to drill it, but it's hanging out of the walls. So our intention is to go and mine a few of these areas as we start up. That'll produce high-grade additional feed tonnes, which are outside of our mine plan. Of course, that will increase the cash flow, reduce all-in sustaining costs. The mill is not full, so we're only operating the mill at about 80% at this point, based on our current mine plan. So this is upside. So where are we at right now? Well, we have started our refurbishment, and as Chrissy said earlier, we've run up the crusher. The guys are probably running buckets full of dirt through the crusher at this point. But certainly we've got the key people in place. We've got management, we've got the maintenance people. We're doing the early works right now. We're ordering long lead items. And that's going to debottleneck the rest of the refurbishment once we get going. That will happen once we get the funding in. So over the next few months, we'll get the funding in, then we'll commit to the full refurb, the mining contracts, etc. And we do expect that it's a 6-month process from full funding to getting first gold. So that's why we'll be expecting first gold in the second half of this year. A few happy snaps from around site. As I said, the guys have run up the crusher, ordered the steel for the tanks, tested all the motors and agitators. There's not many that are broken, and we've got stock in the store to replace. Got motors, ordered the long leads for the mill, ripped the Nelsons out already. They'll be stripped, and we'll use spares. Belvedere is in our mine plan. It's about 20,000 ounces to our mine plan, so it's not huge at the moment, but it's only a 30,000 ounce resource anyway. It's 5 kilometres from the mine, and it's got a huge potential. We've been doing some exploration drilling further along strike, very greenfield sort of work, but there's a 2.5 kilometre strike with historic workings along this fault zone. We think there could be repeats of high-grade shoots that could be added to the mine plan in the future, because Belvedere clearly will work. And there's lots more potential here. So Paulsens and Belvedere are up the top of this image, but we've got a large land holding. We've got other targets that maybe look like Paulsens did prior to drilling ever happening that haven't been drilled. There's good potential for other base metals and other commodities on this lease package. And we've got a 2.5 million ounce exploration target, because clearly this is not going to be the only million ounce gold deposit found here. One of the interesting areas for the geos, a bit different from just straight gold, but there's certainly precious metals down here as well as critical metals, is Mount Clement. And we've just added some extra tenure to the south of Mount Clement in the Bullaloo acquisition. So this is a copper gold sort of area, and obviously there's the antimony kicking around as well. I'll quickly nip up to Coyote while I've got time. Again, this is a brilliant high-grade deposit. It's up in the Tanami. It's along strike of the 20 million ounce Cali deposit. Here we've got the only processing plant within a 200 kilometre radius, and this is a good bit of kit, good bit of infrastructure that would be hard to build again in the future. We'll just have to upgrade this and refurbish it and get it going. So this makes for an easy second project for us as a company after we've got cash flow coming out of Paulsens. So we've published a scoping level study here. We'll have to upgrade that again going forward. But that does show that there's good cash flow, low all-in sustaining cost, and certainly lots and lots of upside. It's a very high-grade resource. There's a lot that is not included in the resource here at Coyote. But the 15-gram underground is the jewel here, and that will be the focus, and that will continue to grow. We've excluded a fair bit of the underground from the study so far, so there's a lot of upside to come. Cal East is where we floated 6 years ago with about an 80 square kilometre tenement package and no resource. We spent our first 4 years looking at this project, growing it, and we've got 1.3 million ounces sitting within 50 kilometres of Kalgoorlie. We took this to the point of getting the approved mill site for an 800,000 tonne per annum processing facility. So that's out the road at Majestic between Mount Munga and Beulong. So that's all ready to go. Obviously, it hasn't been a great time to be doing a new construction around Kalgoorlie, and we've got lower capital startups at Paulsens and Coyote. But this is a great project. It's de-risked, it's got a PFS, it's got good cash flow. There's 700,000 ounces in our portfolio at the moment that has not been included in the current study, and there's a huge amount of discovery success to be had out of this large tenement holding. So this is a great third project for us. Obviously, there's a few changes around Kalgoorlie at the moment. This may come forward in the project pipeline, but at the moment, Paulsens is our number one. Once we're operating, obviously, we can be re-rated as a junior miner. You can compare all the junior miners and compare their enterprise value per production ounce, take an average. We'll get a re-rate, we should get a lift once we're in production. And our first project will be producing somewhere around 50,000 ounces. Second, maybe have 100,000 ounces production, and the third at 150. We should easily increase shareholder value through this method. So I'm ahead of time, Chrissy, but I got you first. So clearly, we've got 2.5 million ounces of very high-grade resource, 3 projects which will all be in production at some point in the future. As a junior, we've got 3 projects which will all be company makers, and we've got all of them in our portfolio. So we'll start the first one. We don't have to go and acquire the second one. We've got that already there. But they're high grade. We've got the funding in place to start, and we'll be pouring gold later this year. If you'd like more information, we've got a couple of geos out in the booth. Please come and see us and discuss. Thanks.